Hi, this is an M95 Steyr, and I bought it in very good condition, but there were several things that were just not to my liking, and I took it apart and examined it, and these are the things that I found, and that I just tuned up, and it turned this into a very nice rifle. And I thought I'd share this with you so that if you're having these problems with your rifle, you might see what I did and have an idea on how to correct yours and make it better. So let's go to a close-up now and see what I did. So here's my rifle, and I'm going to remove the bolt. And strip the bolt down. Okay, as you see, I have the bolt stripped down now, and the components are the bolt head, the bolt body, the firing pin and spring keeper, the extractor, and the cocking piece. When I put this bolt back together as such, the action is very smooth in the bolt, and it feels really good. Okay, now when I put it into the gun in this position, there are no springs that can interfere with the operation of this gun. It moves very smooth, very slick, and it locks up solid, unlocks, and that's the way you want your bolt to be. Okay, no sort of push and jerking and pull hard. It doesn't want to be like that. Okay, and I'll show you what's going on. As soon as you put this spring inside the bolt, it has a tendency always to start wanting to turn the bolt head in this direction. And when it turns it in this direction, the bolt lugs want to ride on the receiver rail here, as you can see by the wear mark, the silver stripe that's along there. And if it's riding on this side, then on the opposite side, it wants to ride up inside that lip. And so the offending parts of the bolt lug are going to be looking end on at the bolt, and this is the ejector slot down beneath. It's going to be the bottom of this lug and the top of this lug are rubbing on the receiver, and when that happens, it's like operating the bolt with the brakes on. And what they did, as I found out, to stop that from happening at Steyr, there's your extractor, and your extractor is a great big spring. This is the case extractor on one side, and then there's a nub in the middle to which this flexes this way and this would flex this way. Okay, and in total it would have a spring arch like that. Okay, now over time, as this runs inside the bolt body here, and it's rubbing along there, this nub can wear down, and at the same time the spring in this arch can relax. And when those two things happen, when you look at the bolt head, and it has the small slot that's facing the rear of the bolt head, this goes on like here, and if you look at the end of the extractor, it looks like a capital T, and that's supposed to go in that little slot there as the extractor fits over the bolt head. And what that does when it's riding inside the bolt body and this is pushing down on here, it acts as a bolt head lock to lock the bolt head in a certain position. So now what I'm going to do is I'll put the firing pin back into the bolt head. And there's the firing pin with the spring back inside the bolt head. And now, what I didn't mention was I secured in a machinist vise, I secured the spring right there on the nub. And then I put a vice grip on this end, and using my finger, I very gently put a bend in here. I re-arched it. I would say that it was just from the nub side a few degrees, which translated to this end of being maybe a 64th of an inch, maybe as much as a 32nd, but it was very little. And when I put it back now into the bolt, so when I now put the bolt head and the extractor back into the bolt, and the firing pin and the firing pin spring are in there, and the bolt lock is set in the lock position at where these bolt lugs are parallel with the side lugs of the bolt body. And I place this back into the rifle. Notice how it just slides as if it was just the bolt body and the bolt head with no other parts. Okay, there's nothing rubbing anywhere. It's nice and slick. It locks up okay. And that's the way it's supposed to be. And can only be achieved if the bolt lock is working. A lot of these rifles, when you take the bolt out, and I'll pull the bolt out here, as soon as it comes away, what happens? The bolt head flips around, and then you have to play around with it and pull it out and twist it back, and hopefully it stays while you can gently get this to go back in. And that's just a sign that basically there's some wear on the nub, and the arches come out of the spring part on the bolt head lock. And it's very easy to fix. And before I put the bolt fully together, I'm going to discuss about the cocking piece. And on the cocking piece here, when these guns were made, this is the other part of the sear, is right here. And they cut that at an angle like this. My hand is exaggerating the angle, okay, but a pretty steep angle. And what happens is that when the bolt goes forward and goes into the receiver, when the bolt goes forward into the receiver, the lugs turn 90 degrees, and that's the lockup. And when it locks up like that, the pressure from the extended bolt body coming back, the pressure is relieved on the firing pin spring. Then the sear down here catches on the cocking piece and pulls it out of the bolt back here, and that is putting pressure back on the firing pin spring. Now, if you have this steep cut on this part of the sear on the cocking piece, okay, what happens is that when you go to pull the trigger, you start pulling the cocking piece back a distance, and as you pull, and the more it pulls back, you're compressing the firing pin spring, and it's translating on the trigger here and giving you a heavy trigger pull, 9-10 pound trigger pull. When you carefully change this angle to a less steep angle, but not vertical, just a less steep angle. That translates to this being pulled out of the bolt a lot less. And mine pulls out about a 64th of an inch, very little. And then she lets off with a lovely 4-pound trigger pull. Now I'm going to put this back in the bolt again. Now here's the bolt with complete with the cocking piece in it and with the locking lugs at 90 degrees. The cocking piece is fully into the bolt this way, the locking lug, the bolt head is into the bolt this way, and the spring now is under the least compression that it is possible to have in the assembly. Of course, when this catches on the sear, as you push the bolt forward, you can see that spring action is translating onto the sear, and when you put the bolt into the horizontal position with the bolt lock on, now the bolt head has come out and the spring is compressed once again. Now I'm going to put the complete bolt back in this gun. Okay, and look, it's that same smooth action because the bolt lock is in place. And the bolt lock is now repaired, and the bolt head lock is now repaired and working. What I'll point out next is what I was talking about, the limited movement. Watch the cocking piece right here, and as I go to pull on the trigger, it's a 2-stage trigger now, and as I'm pulling, okay, can you see how little the cocking piece is moving? And now I'm right up on the sear and it falls. And it falls at 4 pounds. So you see that? How little that's moving? And boom, the 4-pound trigger pull. And that is how your rifle should be set up. Possibly when these guns were new, being all hand fitted, they were set up that way, except that the trigger was made deliberately heavy because this thing was going to be chunked around in the trenches. Now, I'm going to show you something else while we're on a subject here, and that is if you've been looking around for a cleaning rod and cleaning kit for one of these guns, this M95 Steyr, it just turns out that the M44 Mosin Nagant, the carbine version, the cleaning rod and cleaning kit fit the M95 Steyr. And I'll show you the stuff that you get in the cleaning kit that are very, first off, you get your jag, your T-handle, your brush, but this thing, this is your false muzzle. And it goes over the muzzle. It fits like it was made for this gun. And then your cleaning rod goes down in there, and it will take wear of your cleaning rod waggling about without wearing out your actual muzzle and causing you a loss in accuracy. So that's a very good feature to have. And the next thing is, and I will defeat the lock. Now, your bolt is in this position, okay, with the bolt lugs up and down, and you want to put it back in your gun. Now you can pull on it like this and twist it and get ouchie fingers, or you can take this tool here. from the Mosin Nagant, and it has the firing pin checking gauge that just seems to work on this bolt as well. And you just put your bolt in that funny circular thing that I could never figure out what it was for on the Nagant. And you put it in there and just turn it. Boom. Done. No ouch. And so that just makes it a good reason why you should get a Mosin Nagant cleaning kit for this rifle. I don't think they had cleaning kits for them back in the day, as there was a cleaning rod, but apparently it was only issued to armorers, and I don't know why, but there you have it. So essentially, when you're finished with your gun, you might like it being clunky and stiff. I like mine to be smooth and to have a light trigger pull. It's never going back in the trenches, it's just going to the range. And with my eyes and these open sights at 100 yards, shooting a cast bullet, you know, I'm happy to get 4 minutes of angle. And anyways, this is the operation I wanted to have, and with a 4-pound trigger pull. Oh, I love that. Those are the things I did to mine, and it improved it. And before I go, I just want to talk about the ammunition. And there's that World War II era German ammunition, the Nazi stuff. And I don't know what they were thinking with that, and the age of the propellants inside the cases, they can do strange things over time, and they can become just downright dangerous. So I wouldn't shoot that stuff. And if you do have a good batch, they loaded it to a power that just feels way more than a 30-06, and it's sort of brutal, and it'll really give you an ouchy shoulder. And so I'd avoid it. You can go to PPU, Privy Partisan, and you can get ammunition for this rifle, and it works quite well, and it gives you about the same recoil as, say, an 8mm Mauser, 308, somewhere in that ballpark. So it's quite manageable. You can go to a website called Cast Bullets, and you can get information on how to load your own ammo, bullet weight, powder, that sort of thing. And I use that information, and I load it to about a pistol power, about a 38 special is what it comes out to, or maybe a little less. And the recoil on this is very small, and it means that my brass lasts a long time, because I can reload it as I don't overstress my brass every time I shoot it. And also I can have a great experience and come back from the range without an ouchy shoulder. And you know, I'm just shooting 100 yards, so I'm just need to be accurate for that distance. Anyways, it's up to you what you feed it, but those are just some suggestions. And if you have one of these rifles and you're having that problem and you want to sort it out, I hope I've given you some tips on what to do. And have a great time at the range and have fun with your M95. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.